Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Shamaprabha Nirvikam Gurume Devo Sharvakayeshu Sharvada Saraswate Namastubhyam
Varade
Varade Kamarupini Vyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavadu Mishada. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Sashivaranam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sharva Vikno Pashantaye. Let's salute Lord Hanuman, who is present wherever Ramayana is being read and wherever the names of Lord Rama is being chanted. Yatra yatra Raghunama Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Krishnamastakanjalim Bashvavare Paripurna Lochanam Maruthim Namatta Raksha Shantakam Kujantam Ramarameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Okay, before we go into session 15, this is our session 15, and in our session 15, for this session, we are going to complete Aranya Kanda of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. Before that, I would like to check whether the audio is clear now. Let me check whether I put to the maximum. Speaker to the maximum. Okay. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, audio is fine.
Audio is fine. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's review the last session before we look at session 15. Session 15 will be the conclusion we are going to look at in this session, that is for Aranya Kanda, before we go into Kishkinda Kanda, which will be book number 4 next week. So in this session, we are going to complete book number 3, that is Aranya Kandam. Remember, so far we have covered Balakandam, Ayutya Kandam, now Aranya Kandam. Aranya Kandam is a book of horrors. Book of horrors, Aranya Kandam consists of 75 chapters. In Balakandam, it consists of 77 chapters. Ayutya Kandam consisted 119 chapter, one of the longest books in Valmiki Ramayana besides Yuddha Kandam and also Uttara Kandam. And this Aranya Kandam consists of 75 chapters. So we are going to complete the Aranya Kandam in session, this session, that is session 15. Now, before we go into session 15, let's look at what we have covered in our previous session. In session 14, we've looked at chapters 41 to chapter 60. As I mentioned to you many times, it is always important for you to read from the original translations by Krishna Sarma from readramayana.org, or even Desiraja Hanumantarao from valmikiramayana.net, so that when you go through the sessions, it will be more clearer to you and you'll be able to follow well. And at the end of the day, if you have any doubts, you can always put a question. If it is not possible to do it during the session, you can type in a chat sessions, so that if there are any questions, I will be taking in after the session, and then I will answer your questions as per my understanding of Valmiki Ramayana. So if you look at the previous session, chapters, chapter 41, we learned from chapter 41 about Maricha. Maricha tried his level best to dissuade Ravana. Ravana was very adamant. So Marisha thought there's no way that he can dissuade what they call Ravana. Ravana was very adamant. So Marisha have to follow the instruction or the direction of his king. Okay, so Marisha turned into a golden deer. So then what happened? We learned that when Sita saw the golden deer, she was captivated by the golden deer, and then she requested Rama to get the deer for her. But Lakshmana warned them that it could be Maricha. The demon Maricha could assume any forms. But due to the what they call pressure given by Sita, Rama had no choice, but Rama had to go and get the golden deer, that is Maricha. And at the end, when Rama realized that it's not the deer, it is a demon in disguise of the deer, Rama eliminated Maricha. And then at that time, Maricha was crying aloud, Ha Sita, Ha Lakshmana. So when Sita heard the what they call voice of Maricha, who what they call made just like Rama used to cry, so Sita directed, forced Lakshmana to go and look for Rama. So what happened after that? When Lakshmana left, Ravana came, and then there was a great debate, dialogue between Sita and Ravana. Okay, Sita started with her background, and then Ravana introduced himself. Ravana came in form of a mendicant, like an aesthetic. Okay, then Ravana tried to tempt Sita, was not possible to tempt Sita. Ravana took Sita. So we had a discussion about did Ravana touch Sita? Okay, remember the last session we have gone through that. And then when Sita was being abducted by Ravana, Sita's cry was heard by Jatayu. Jatayu fought with Ravana. Although Jatayu knew that he was not a match for Ravana, Jatayu tried his best and he sacrificed his own life in service of Rama, trying to save Sita, but he was defeated by Ravana. His wings were clipped by Ravana. Jatayu fell down and then he was holding his breath until Rama came. Rama and Lakshmana came, like what we are going to look at in this session for today's session. Until Jatayu communicated to Rama and Lakshmana about Sita, then Jatayu gave up his life in service of Rama. So on the way to Lanka, Sita saw five vanaras sitting on top of a hill, and she drops the jewelry to the vanaras. There were questions whether Sita took jewelries with her to the forest. Yes, Sita took some jewelries with her to the forest, as you can, if you are able to recall from the Ayutthaya Kanda. Yes, she has taken, and then she also got some jewelries from Satya Anusuya. You remember at the concluding chapters of Ayutthaya Kandam, Rama will meet Atri Muni and his wife Anusuya, Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita. So then that particular chapter, that is the concluding part, chapter, if you look at chapter 117, 18, you will be able to find a dialogue discussion between Anusuya and also Sita. Anusuya will be what they call giving discourse to Sita on Sri Dharma, and then Anusurya will give a jewelries to Sita, and Sita accepted the jewelries, and then there are jewelries taken by Sita to the forest. Okay, and of course after that Ravana will try his best to entice Sita to marry him, and Sita will reprimand Ravana. Sita, when she communicated with Ravana, she will use a grass, dharma, the grass, or even a stick when she communicated with Ravana. And then back in Panchavati, Rama meets Lakshmana, who was running in search of Rama, and Rama anguishes for Sita's aloneness. Rama reprimanded Lakshmana for leaving Sita. And then chapter 60, we learn about Rama lamenting about the separation from Sita. Okay, that were the chapters that we covered in last session, session 14. In session 15, we are going to look at the remaining part of Aranyakandam, Book of Forest, that is chapters 61 to 75. So in these chapters 61 to 75, we will be learning about Jatayu Moksha and also Sabari Moksha, two important incidents in the remaining chapters. So if you look at in chapter 61 to 63, about all about Rama's lamentations for Sita. Rama cried for the loss of Sita. Rama had to act as a human being, although Rama is a Narayana himself, but he took the birth of a human being. So remember, sometimes if you look into the Uttarakanda of Ramayana and also from other Charitra, Ram Charitra, there was a curse for Rama by Bhrigu Muni to be separated by his separated from his wife. Okay, and all these there are some um, records. If you look into in other versions of Ramayana, you do have about why Rama have to be separated with Sita. Uttarakanda of Ramayana also mentions that besides Uttarakanda, there are also other Uttara Ramayana, Uttara Charitra of Ramayana, where this reason for Rama being in the being affected by depression will be explained there. Okay, and of course Rama will find Sita's flowers and also jewelry dropped there. Lakshmana will pacify Rama. Lakshmana in fact will give advisory words to Rama. In fact, Rama and Lakshmana both will take turns to give counsels to each other. That's how it was. Okay, and at times even you will find in Kishkindakanda, Sugriva also will counsel Rama and give advisory words to Rama. Okay, so Lakshmana will give advisory words to Rama in chapter 66, and then Rama will spot Jatayu, whose wing was clipped by Ravana, and Jatayu will inform Rama about Ravana, and then Jatayu will attain moksha, Jatayu moksha, and Rama will perform his funeral rites for Jatayu. And then another demon will appear, that is Kabanda. Kabanda will capture Rama and Lakshmana. Kabanda used to have a very long arm. His mouth is in the stomach. It was a curse to Kabanda to be in that form. So Kabanda, after Kabanda had been killed, he attained his original Rupa, Shorupa. He will advise Rama to meet Sugriva. Kabanda will tell Rama how one in his condition would be able to achieve his objective. Kabanda will advise Rama about how important it is to have strategic alliance. Okay, we learn in strategy or strategic management about strategic alliance, but Kabanda long ago mentions to Rama about why strategic alliance is important and what type of people that you can form alliance with. Okay, and then on the way to Pampa Nadi, Pampa Lake, okay, Rama will meet Sabari. Sabari, and Sabari will attain salvation. Sabari Moksha. You have Jatayu Moksha and you have Sabari Moksha in this session. And then the chapter will end with Rama and Lakshmana arriving at Pampa Lake or Pampa Nadi, Pampa. Okay. Now looking at where we left, chapter 60, we stopped at section, chapter 60, section, chapter 61, when Rama returned to the hermitage with Lakshmana, seeing it empty, he started to grieve. He said to Lakshmana, "Where has my beloved Sita gone, O Lakshmana? Or has she actually been carried away by someone?" Again, imagining that it was all fun, Rama was thinking Sita is just playing fun with him. Okay, he thought that it's a big joke which Sita was playing, he said. So he said, "Enough of this fun, Sita, please come out." See, even the deer are stricken with grief because they do not see you. Okay, turning to Lakshmana again, he said, Lakshmana, I cannot live without Sita. I shall soon join my father in other world. But he may be annoyed with me and say, I told you to live in the forest for 14 years. How come you come here before that period? Ha, Sita, do not forsake me. Lakshmana tried to console Rama. Grieve not, O Rama. Surely you know Sita is fond of the forests and the caves on mountainside. She must gone to these caves. Let us look for her in the forest. That is the proper thing to do. Do not grieve. These brave words took Rama's grief away for a time being, yes. So when people are in grief, we learn about Dasaratha was grieving earlier in what you call Ayutthaya Khandam. And then words by Kausalya actually did not help him at all. Kausalya increased his grief. Then later Sumitra came. You remember the words of Sumitra, how Sumitra helped Kausalya and also Dasaratha to overcome the grief. I showed you a diagram about how people go through psychologically. Uh, First, they get a shock after if any particular incident happens, just like what Rama is experiencing here. And then they will be in a state of denial. Rama was in a state of denial. Look at Rama. He was thinking that it is not happening. Sita is just playing fun with him. Then when he starts to feel that it is true, it is happening, he get frustrated. So frustration will lead to grief or depression. So when people get into depression, it is very important at that time we need someone who are able to help the person overcome the depression. So if you look into the remaining factor, the remaining chapters, if you are looking into chapter 62, chapter 63, all those chapters gives about how Rama grieving for Sita. Rama, you see, and everybody will have a state in their life, a stage in their life where they will be in a depressed state. Tell me anyone who's exempted from this. Even Rama, Narayana himself, when he came in a human form, he had to undergo this. He had to undergo. Okay. Filled with agonies, Rama along with Lakshmana began to search for in the forest. Rama was distressed. Lakshmana, I do not find Sita anywhere. But Lakshmana continued to console Rama. Fear not, brother, you will surely recover Sita soon. But this time, these words were less meaningful to Rama. He was overcome by grief and he lamented. Where shall we find Sita or Lakshmana and when? We have looked for her everywhere in the forest, but we could not find her. Rama, frequently in anguish, muttering, Ah, my beloved. Suddenly he saw, suddenly he thought he saw Sita hiding behind the trees, and he said to her, My beloved, I see you behind the banana tree. Ah, now I see you behind the Karnikara tree. My dear, enough, enough of this play. For your fun aggravate my anguish. I know you are fond of such play, but please stop this and come to me now. But when Rama realized that it was only his hallucination, he turned to Lakshmana and lamented. I am certain now that some demon has killed my beloved Sita. How can I return to Ayutthaya without Sita? How can I face King Janaka, her father? Oh no, Lakshmana, even heaven is useless without Sita. I shall continue to stay in this forest. You can return to Ayutthaya. You tell Bharata that he should continue to rule the country. This is something, what I say, is mostly like a negative self-talk that comes from Rama himself, because Rama is grieving at the time. Most people, when they are grieving, there will be negative self-talk that comes, just like what we hear, what we see from the experience of Rama. So it continues. Rama's lamentation continues. Oh son, you know what people do and what people do not do. You know what is true and what is false. You are witness to all this. Now Rama is communicating to Surya Bhagavan. Please tell me, where has my beloved Sita gone? For I have been robbed of everything by this grief. Oh wind, you know everything in the world, for you are everywhere. Now Rama is communicating to Vayu Bhagavan from Surya Bhagavan, Vayu Bhagavan. Now Rama is telling Vayu Bhagavan, please tell me in which direction did Sita go? Rama will know later on. Surya Bhagavan and Vayu Bhagavan in form of Sugriva and Hanuman will come to assist him. Because Sugriva is an Amsa of Surya. Hanuman is an Amsha of Vayu. So Rama here is also telling river Godavari. Godavari used to be favorite resort for Sita, as what Rama is telling Lakshmana. Uh, Rama said, this river Godavari was his favorite resort. See Lakshmana if she is somewhere near Godavari. Lakshmana came back and reported she could not find her there. Rama himself went to Godavari and asked the reader, oh Godavari, river Godavari, please tell me where my beloved Sita has gone. But the river did not reply. It was as afraid of anger of Ravana. Godavari kept silent. Rama was disappointed. Rama asked the deer and other animals, where is Sita? Please tell me in which direction Sita has been taken. He observed that the deer and other animals, all of them turned southwards, and some of them even moved southwards. Rama said to Lakshmana, based on the nimitta, based on the direction of the animals, indicates that Sita must have been taken towards the southern direction. See here, Rama was lamenting. Well, Rama was lamenting. If you look into the words that came out from the mouth of Rama in chapter 63, verse 4, verse 5, verse 6, okay, and also from Lakshmana, verse 19 here. See, Rama, even this will also happen to Sita later on in Sundarakandam. Sita will also be lamenting, thinking about past lives, thinking about karma. So here even Rama have said, in the past I had certainly done some sinful deeds. I often like the consequences of which has descended on me now as I am experiencing one sorrow after another. Later, he will also be very sorrowful, very depressed when he looked at Jatayu, the friend of his father, dying because of service of him, after serving him. Okay, he will tell Lakshmana, oh Lakshmana, loss of kingdom, separation from kith and kin, death of father, separation from mother, all these thoughts augment my sorrow faster and in greater measure. Oh Lakshmana, all this sorrow calmed down when I came to this solitary forest, but with Sita's separation, it rekindled, just like a fire blazes fought against with logs of wood. So Lakshmana will say, oh noble prince, give up grief, take courage. So words from Lakshmana are very encouraging. So one should not be in grief. One should not dwell in grief. Have courage that you will be able to accomplish. You will be able to overcome the grief. So Lakshmana said, show enthusiasm to search and find Sita. Enthusiastic people will not get despondent in carrying out the most difficult task. Don't stop there. Continue. That's what Rama did. That's what Lakshmana did. They did not stay there looking for Sita, waiting for Sita to come back. They search and search and search. And they ask everybody whom they met. Okay, of course, they get news from Jatayu and then they go on searching and searching, form alliances with the monkeys, the Sugriva, and then they continue to search until they are successful in their mission. Okay, so one should not put their mind grieving. Karma is also something that is mentioned there. Past life. Everybody have karma. Everybody who have taken birth have karma that they have accumulated in the past. And also karma that being taken at the present birth. So you have past also there, present is also there. That past and present, whatever we do will determine what will happen to us in the future. In the future, it can be in this janma or the birth, or it can also be in next janma if we want to go into next janma. The best is that if we realize that we are architect of our own destiny, we can end the janma. We should not go into janma after janma. So we have to remember that the karma comes in the past and also currently also based on our thought, based on our word and also action, we determine the karma. So further it says that our thoughts are very important. How Rama manages his thought in the beginning was very negative. Later on he was motivated when he met with Sugriva, and then he managed to overcome. So karma is word, thought, and deed. That is a behavior, word, that not only action, our action, but also our words. But more importantly, the thoughts, what's in our mind. For example, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 5, verse 6. Anyone can take a note. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 5 and verse 6 says that what we think at the time when we quit the body, that's where the subtle body will take in the next life. Thoughts, if our thoughts are towards the Lord, Ram, Krishna, Rama and Krishna, we will be able to attain. There is a sloka in the Bhagavad Gita, you can recall, if I'm able to recall, it is in chapter 8, verse 5. Ante kale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati shamad bhavam yati nashti atra samsayaha. That means the importance of our thoughts as the time when we quit the body. Because what we think at the time is considered to be very important because it determines where we go next. There are examples from Bhagavata Purana, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. You can also find examples from Mahabharata also. Many Srimad Bhagavatam mentions Jadabharata, who was too attached to a deer, at the time he quits the body, he was thinking about a deer. And then in next life, it so happened that he took birth as a deer. And then that deer was a Jatishmara who was able to recall the password. And then in following life, he's managed to get back a human life and then he attains liberation. Okay, so that's why it's important for the thoughts at the time when one quits the body, because the soul, if you look into this, the soul undergoes what is called transmigration. So when we say transmigration means based on the past karma, based on the thought at the time when one quits the body, it transmigrates from a body to another body. And this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I'm making a reference to the Mahabharata, the part on the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 13, it is mentioned that Dehinoshmim yatha dehi kaumaram yauvanam jara Tatha dehantara praptir dirashtatra namuhyate. It means that as the body passes through a period of childhood to adulthood, and then to an old age, similarly, the soul, the Atma, passes from one body to another body upon expiry of the body. And it is also mentioned that somebody who is self-realized, or we call dira, self-realized person is not bewildered by such a change. Okay, that's why self-realized means you must always be in an equanimity. Later on we learn Rama is somebody who is very good in emotional intelligence, but yet at that particular period of time, you remember in these chapters, chapter 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, he is grieving. Okay, just like any other human beings. So it's important that we need to understand from the Sastras. Not much is mentioned in Ramayana, but in Mahabharata is a lot. If you look into Vyasa Mahabharata and also Bhagavata Purana, which is also from Vyasa, who is attributed to every Puranas, one should not lament, one should not grieve. Why one should not grieve? Because this body is always perishable. And the first instruction of Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita itself is that do not grieve. Even later in Kishkinda Kanda, we learn the first word that comes from Hanuman's mouth to Sugriva was fear not, do not fear. Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 11, he says, do not grieve. He says, Asoshan anvasoshastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanu soshanti panditaha. A pandita is somebody who will never grieve. Gatasun, one who have gone. Agatasun, one who have yet to go. He will never grieve. Okay, so this is what is some lessons that we can take, because for us, every one of us, the heaviest burden, we carry a lot of burden in our life. We don't carry the burden in our hands. Physically, we are not carrying much burden. It is said that the heaviest burden that we carry is only in our head. We have to release the burden. The moment we release the burden that is in our mind, too many things that dwell in our mind. We become free, more relaxed, more peace when we release this burden that we put in our head. That many of us, including me, all of us are affected by this. Nobody is exempted. So again, very important, karma yogi, we are looking from other literature perspective, is one who performs action by body, mind, intellect, and senses without attachment, only for self-purification. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 3, verse 19. Tashmat ashakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakta hi acharam karma param apnoti purushaha. It is also mentioned there. So now let's get back to the remaining chapters. Chapter 64. Now Lakshmana, looking at Rama in a state of lamentation, grief, Lakshmana too saw the animal behavior as a sure sign indicating Sita has been born in a southerly direction. And as suggested to Rama, they also proceeded to the direction. As they were proceeding, they saw petals of flowers fallen on the ground, and Rama recognized them and said to Lakshmana, look here, Lakshmana, these are petals from the flowers that I have given to Sita. Surely, in an eagerness to please me, the sun, the wind, the earth have contrived to keep these flowers fresh. They walked further. Rama saw footprints on the ground. Two of them immediately recognized as those of Sita. The other one were big, obviously footprint of a demon. Bits and pieces of gold were strewn on the ground. Rama also saw blood, which he concluded was Sita's blood. And again he wailed, alas. At this spot, the demon killed Sita and to eat her flesh. He also saw evidence of a light. He said, perhaps there were two demons fighting for the flesh of Sita. Okay, then after seeing that, Rama was in a world-destroying mood, was very angry. So it says in chapter 1 of Balakandam, chapter 1, Balakandam chapter 1, sloka number 4. There is a sloka that says, Atmavanko jita krodo dutiman ko anusuyaka kasya bibhyati devasya kasya bibhyati devasya jata roshasya samyuge. Jata roshas, even when Rama becomes angry, it says that even the devas will become angry. So here Lakshmana tried to console Rama here. He said to Rama, Rama, somebody need to, okay, thank you. All right. He said to Rama, Rama, please do not go against your nature. He says, Lakshmana says, your nature is not to get so angry. You are someone who is emotionally intelligent. Don't get angry. Don't get depressed. Okay, he is given charm in the moon, brilliance in the sun, motion in the air, endurance in the earth. Earth is a someone, so is a Bhuma Devi endures everything that is taking place in the world. Endurance in the earth. These are their essential nature. In you, all these are found, O Rama. In addition, eternal glory. See, Lakshmana is giving, comparing Rama to the moon, like the chan in the room, Rama Chandra, moon, brilliance in the sun. He's coming from the lineage of Surya Vamsa, motion in the air, endurance in the earth. All these are their essential nature. In you, all these are found. In addition, eternal glory. Your nature cannot desert you. Even the sun, the moon, the earth cannot abandon their nature. Moreover, being king, you cannot punish all the created being for the sin of one person. Great and peaceful monarchs match punishment to the crime. Above, this is about Dandanidi. In Sastra, it is also mentioned, Mahabharata also you will find Dandanidi. Dandanidi is Nidhi is ethics in terms of punishment. So here Lakshmana is saying, being the king, you cannot punish all created being for the sin of one person. Gentle and peaceful monarchs match punishment to crime. Over and above this, they are the refuge of all the beings and their goal. I shall without fail find out the real criminal who have abducted Sita. No God will seek to displease you, O Rama. Of course, if Sita cannot be recovered through peaceful means, we shall consider other means. See, they always say these are the four means. One is Sama, Dana, Beda, and Danda. Okay, the Sama is more on good words. Then Sama, Dana is some form of a negotiation that you do, give something in order to get something. Beda is something like differences that are created in terms to get into our, to accept our agreement or something. Beda. Okay, we'll come into that part in the Yuddhakanda also. I will narrate to you about these four matters. And then Danda. Danda is last choice, punishment. You shouldn't be Danda first. First start with Sama, Dana, Samadhana. You would also know this. Sama, Dana, Beda. Last choice is always Danda. Okay. So here again, Lakshmana tells Rama, whom does not misfortune visit in this world, O Rama? Misfortune departs from a man as quickly as it visits him. Hence, please regain your composure. Everybody, to everyone, misfortune will come based on our past karma. And here you will say that if you who are endowed with divine intelligence, okay, betray lack of endurance in the face of this misfortune, what will others do in similar circumstances? Lakshmana is telling Rama, you are setting example to others. He's giving an example of King Nahusa, who was powerful as Indra, was beset with misfortune because Nahusa was Nahusa was cursed by Agastya to become a serpent. In Mahabharata, Nahusa and Yudhishthira will have a dialogue. Nahusa will catch Bhima. He was not able to, Bhima cannot release himself from Nahusa. So it's only when Yudhishthira came and engaged in discourse, dialogue with the Nahusa. Lot of philosophical, it was a philosophical dialogue between Nahusha. It is called Nahusa Prasna in Mahabharata. A conversation between Nahusa and Yudhishthira. And then after that, Bhima was released. So Nahusa also was in that particular state. Okay. Then Sage Vasista, he lost his 100 sons. And Lakshmana also said, earth is tormented by volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. The sun and the moon are afflicted by eclipse. So Lakshmana is telling Rama, misfortune strikes the great ones, even gods. Indra was also struck with misfortune. For in this world, people who perform actions whose results are not obvious, and these actions, which may be good and evil, bear their own fruits. He talks about karma. People who are endowed with enlightened intelligence know what is good and what is not good. People like you do not grieve over misfortunes and do not get deluded by them. You should not be deluded by any misfortune, any form of dissatisfaction, frustration, because we have to accept it as it is. We have to pass through based on all this takes place due to our past actions and also our reactions to the action. Past action and reaction to the actions, it always comes back to us. Now, like what Bhishma will tell will tell Yudhishthira in Mahabharata in book 13, Anusashana Parva, uh, uh, even among thousands of cows, the calf will be able to find its mother. Similarly, thousands of bird one would have taken, the reaction of that action done in a previous life will always come back to the individual. So Lakshmana is telling, why am I telling you all this, O Rama? Who in this world is wiser than you? However, since as is natural, grief seems to veil wisdom. Yes, grief veils wisdom. In Sundarakanda later on in chapter 11, chapter 12, and chapter 13, you will find about Hanuman. Hanuman was also in grief when he was not able to find Sita. Even at that time, Hanuman also was thinking about committing suicide. And then later he remotivated himself. One should not fall to grief. Okay. While one is alive, one will be able to achieve many things in life. So he remotivated himself. And then finally he managed to find Sita. Chapter 15, he found Sita in Sundarakandam. But before, after looking here and there, even he was in a state of grief. Okay. All this Lakshmana is telling Rama, I learn only from you, O Rama. I am only repeating what you yourself have taught me earlier. Therefore, O Rama, know your enemy and fight them. These are the words of Lakshmana. See, Lakshmana counseling Rama. Normally, we used to think only Rama counsel everybody. No, Lakshmana will counsel Rama. Even Sita also have counseled Rama. Remember, Sita counseled Rama in the beginning of Aranyakanda. We learn in Aranyakanda chapter 9, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 9 and 10, if I'm not mistaken. Sita also counseled Rama, giving her counsel, giving her advice to Rama. You will find Dasarada was giving advice to Rama. Vashishta gave advice to Rama. There is a work on called Yoga Vashishta Ramayana, which is on Vashishta's instructions to Rama. That's not part of Valmiki Ramayana, but it's a separate work altogether. It is called Yoga Vashishta Ramayana. Okay, so we find that Lakshmana is counseling Rama. So you look into those, look at those slokas in chapter 65 and also chapter 67. Okay, what are the things Lakshmana had said to Rama? Oh Rama, if you cannot bear this sorrow that has befallen you, how can weak and ordinary persons endure such suffering? Because leaders determine whatever action done by the leaders, the common people will follow. So when Rama himself are not able to handle grief, Lakshmana said, how can we expect other people to be able to handle grief or misfortune that has fallen to them? So again, he says in chapter 66, verse 14, he says, "O Rama, you always see the truth. So in face of great difficulties, men like you, whose vision is not blurred, should not lose heart." Our vision should never be blurred. Vision, very important for a leader to vision. Vision is something that will provide the leader with where the leader is now and where the leader wants to go. Very important for a leader to be visionary. And further, he says here, good results are not expected from the action of person who cannot distinguish between their virtues and vices, dharma and adharma, from those who are unstable in their deeds. These are the counsel. Lakshmana counseled Rama. And Rama said to Lakshmana, "Oh Lakshmana, tell me what should I do now?" Lakshmana replied, "We should search in this forest." This advice appealed to Rama. He fixed his weapon and set out to search for Sita. Within a short distance, Rama and Lakshmana chanced upon Jatayu, mortally wounded and heavily bleeding. Seeing Jatayu lying on the ground at a distance, Rama's first thought was, this is one of the demon. Rama couldn't recognize clearly Jatayu at that time, and he thought it was one of the demon. But Jatayu said to Rama, Sita has been taken away. When Rama heard this is voice of Jatayu, okay, he rushed forward looking at the Rama. Jatayu, said in feeble voice, Sita has been taken away by Rama. I tried to intervene. I battled with mighty Ravana. I broke his hammer and some parts of his spacecraft. I killed his pilot. I even inflicted injury on him, but he cut off my limbs, thus grounded me. When Rama heard that Jatayu had the news of Sita, he threw his weapon and leaning near the vulture and embraced Jatayu. So Jatayu fought with Ravana, even though Jatayu was not the match for Ravana. But yet Jatayu fought Ravana and he knew he will not be able to defeat Ravana, and he is actually now dying. And yet he hold his breath to tell Rama that Sita has been taken by Ravana. So here Rama, looking into the Jatayu, he again Rama became emotional. See, in Sloka 24, he said, I have been expelled from the kingdom. I am made to stay in the forest. I have lost Sita, my beloved wife, and this bird, who is my well-wisher, has been slain. Such misfortune will burn even fire. This is what Rama is pouring out his emotion. In this world of animate and the inanimate, there is no one more unfortunate than me fallen into the trap of adversities. You see, the same thing also happened to Yudhishthira in the Vanaparva of the Mahabharata. Vanaparva is a book of forests in Mahabharata. Hmm? Adi Parva, Shabha Parva, Vana Parva, after that Virata Parva, Udyoga, and so on, Mahabharata. He was thinking that he was the one who is unfortunate. Later, after the sages Markandeya, sage Markandeya will narrate the life story of many others who are in a similar cases, and also other sages, Daumya and other sages consult. One of the story they will be given to Yudhishthira was Nala and Damayanti story. Nala, King Nala, Damayanti, and even Rama lost his wife Sita. Ramayana also will be there in Vanaparava of Mahabharata. Here, Rama was thinking he was the most unfortunate. No one is unfortunate as I am. He is pouring out his emotion here. So here, what happened is that Rama said to Lakshmana, additional calamity to endure, O Lakshmana. Is there really no end to my misfortune? My misfortune flags even this noble creature, a friend of my father. Rama requested more information from Jatayu concerning Sita and also Ravana. And Jatayu replied, taking Sita with him, the demon flew in his craft, leaving a mysterious storm and cloud behind him. I was mortally wounded by him. My senses are growing dim. I feel life ebbing away, Rama. Yet I assure you, you will recover Sita. Soon Jatayu lay lifeless. Nay, it was his body, for he himself attained the heaven. See, grief stricken afresh, Rama said to Lakshmana, Jatayu lived a very long life, yet he had to lay down his life today. That no one in this world can escape. And what a noble end to Jatayu. What a great service this noble vulture had rendered to me. Pious and noble souls are found even among subhuman creatures, O Lakshmana. Today I have forgotten all my previous misfortunes. I am extremely tormented by the loss of this dear friend who sacrificed his life for my sake. I shall myself cremate it so that it will reach the highest realms. Rama himself performed the funeral rites, reciting those Vedic mantras whom one recites during cremation of one's close relation. After this, Rama and Lakshmana proceeded towards in their journey towards looking for Sita. See, when Jatayu said to Rama, there was something that Jatayu said. You can find in sloka number 12 and 13 in chapter 68. This is about Nimitta Shastra. See, Jatayu said to Rama, the time Ravana kidnapped Sita was known as Vinda. The effect of that time is that her husband will regain her lost wealth. O scion of Kakutsta race, he did not know it. Ravana did not know it. Ravana, king of demons, will perish soon for running away with your evolved Janaki, just like a fish carrying away a fish hook, which causes its destruction. See, it was said that Ravana is very expertise. He's actually also an expert in the field of astrology. This is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, but it is also mentioned in many other sources on Ravanas. If you do some research about Ravana, he has written something called Ravana Shamhita. Some is astrological work. But even though he has written Ravana Samhita, he knows about astrology, he did not care or bother about it. It was said that he imprisoned all the Navagrahas. So he was not bothered about that because he said all the Navagrahas will work for him. It's not mentioned in Valmiki, but if you look into many other regional versions or sources of Ramayana, you will find that. So here, Jatayu, even in that condition, he tried to serve Rama by uttering sweet words to pacify Rama. Jatayu was giving Rama, even the time he was going to die, wounded by Ravana. He was keeping his life to communicate to Rama that Ravana took Sita, and he spoke nice words. He says all the positive words. Yes, Rama, you will be able to achieve. You will be able to regain your wife. That was Jatayu. Jatayu had a rare opportunity. In Ramayana, I can't find anywhere. Rare opportunity where he died on the lap of Rama. Rama cried when Jatayu died. Rare opportunity that Jatayu died on the lap of Rama. Even Rama's father Dasaratha did not have that opportunity like what Jatayu had. And Jatayu attained moksha. That's where Jatayu moksha. We learn about Jatayu moksha, Jatayu moksham. So this is about all this how Rama cremated Jatayu. This Lord of birds for me is as worthy of reverence and honor as a famous and prosperous King Dasaratha. Rama said, "Oh Saumitri, fetch firewood." Saumitri here refers to Lakshmana. Lakshmana is a son of Sumitra. So Rama is addressing Lakshmana here as, "Oh Saumitri, fetch firewoods. I shall generate fire by rubbing them and remain the king of the birds who laid down his life for my sake." So then Rama cremated Jatayu, who obtained moksham. Okay, Jatayu, recognition. In many literature, we find Jatayu being given recognition. Jatayu, the bird. In Ramayana, 3 birds assisted Rama. First, Jatayu, who fought with Ravana. He fought with Ravana. He was killed by Ravana in service of Rama. Jatayu was killed. Second, brother of Jatayu called Sampati. At the end of Kishkinda Kandam, we will be learning about Sampati. You see, Aranya Kandam, we see Jatayu. Jatayu helped Rama, tried to help Rama, and helped Rama by giving nice words to Rama. Second, we'll learn about Sampati, who will help the Vanaras, who will give confidence to the Vanaras to search for Sita. And then in Yuddha Kandam, when Rama and Lakshmana were born by Nagashtra, Nagapasha of Indrajit, Meghanadhan, who is son of Ravana, born Rama and Lakshmana with what they call Nagashtra, another bird that is Garuda, the vehicle of Lord Vishnu himself came and saved Rama. So we have three birds who serve Rama: Jatayu, Sampati, and Garuda. So Jatayu, Sampati, and Garuda were given recognition. I will tell you where the recognition is. See, first, Rama's father, see, we want to, it is mentioned in the Aranya Kanda, when Rama moved to Panchavati, Jatayu introduced himself as a father, as a friend of Rama's father, Dasaratha. But in Valmiki Ramayana, you cannot find anywhere mentioned how Jatayu and Dasaratha became friends. Friend of Dasaratha, Jatayu introduced. But in many other versions of original version, it is mentioned that when Rama's father Jatayu was fighting on behalf of Indra with the Asura, the Jatayu spread his wing across Dasaratha's forehead to save him from the weapons of the demons. So Rama's father Dasaratha was once saved by Jatayu as he spread his wing across Dasaratha's forehead when the Dasaratha fought for Indra in a battle with the demons. It's not there in Valmiki Ramayana. Just want to mention to you from other original sources, you do find that. Okay. Now, Dasaratha had all the disqualification to combat Ravana. Disqualification, he cannot. No way he can defeat. Ravana was the only, if you remember, in Uttarakanda of Ramayana, it is mentioned, Ravana was defeated by Kartavirya Arjuna, and Ravana was defeated by Vali, brother of Sugriva. Only two were able to defeat Ravana. So Jatayu no way combats Ravana. Okay. Yet he tried, he rendered the service to Rama. He was a great hero who fought for the purpose of Dharma till his last breath. So recognition given for Jatayu. If you go to Indonesia, Indonesia is not far from where we are, where I'm in Malaysia. Indonesia, if you, any one of you who travel to Indonesia, have traveled to Indonesia, you can find the Ramayana tradition, Mahabharata tradition is very, very strong. In fact, many of the places, the names of the location of the place, you will have names as in Ramayana and Mahabharata. Any one of you who go to Indonesia, not only Bali, it's all other parts of Indonesia, you find Ramayana influence is very, very strong. So in Indonesia, a country where Ramayana influence, another country is Thailand. You go to Thailand, you will also see influence of Ramayana is very strong, Thailand. So Ramayana influence and the tradition is still sustaining, very strong. And service of Jatayu is recognized in Indonesia. They used to have an airlines called Jatayu Airlines. Jatayu Airlines. It was called Jatayu Gelang Sejahtera, which was one of the airlines based in Indonesia, but it was closed in the year 2007. And then Jatayu's brother, Sampati, you will learn in Kishkinda Kanda, also recognized for his services. He also had in Indonesia, there was an airline that was called Sampati Air, and also operating and was closed in 1998. I searched, it is 1998, they closed after the fall of Suharto regime. Okay, at present, Garuda, who served Lord Rama, is the airline operating in Indonesia, Garuda Airlines. So Indonesia, surprisingly, you see, Indonesia is recognizing service of great birds. That is Jatayu, Sampati, and Garuda. So after Jatayu Moksham, Rama and Lakshmana moved southwestern direction, reached her dense and deep forest, proceeded in easterly direction. From there they move into easterly direction. You see, they move into the western direction. And then from there they move into easterly direction. They went past the hermitage of sage Matanga Muni. Matanga Muni is, Sabari is a disciple of Matanga Muni. Later we will learn about Sabari. The forest at this hermitage was even more fearful and than the previous one they had passed through. and they saw a huge cave in which they have never seen before. Okay, they have not seen even light of sun or even the moon. Near the cave, they saw a demoness, most frightful to look at. She had a belly protruded to a great length. Her teeth were sharp. Her skin was hard. She was eating wild animals of the forest. When she saw them approaching, she quickly pounced upon Lakshmana and began to drag him away. And she told Lakshmana, come, let us enjoy. She said to Lakshmana, I am Ayumuki. Ayumuki, I love you. And surely you realize I'm worthy of you. With me, you can roam this forest and enjoy life. And what happened? Just like what Lakshmana did to Surpanaka, he also did the same to Ayumuki. That was in the very short incident where another demon, Ayumuki, came. And brothers proceeded towards the forest, more even denser than the earlier one. Apprehending trouble, Lakshmana said to Rama, keep your weapon in readiness, O Rama. I see many evil omens, though there is also a good man which portends, good omen, sorry, portends success to us. Even as he was saying that, there was a great tumult ahead of them. Soon they saw a terrible looking, unusual demon. That demon had a broad chest. It had an enormous body, but it had no head or neck. It had its mouth. It had its mouth in its belly. He spoke like a thunder. He had one eye in his forehead and was on his chest. He was endowed with long arms which he drew his prey to himself. He blocked the path of Rama and Lakshmana, and when they came near him, he caught hold of them. Even though they tried to retrace their step, his name was Kabanda, demon Kabanda. Kabanda, in Kabanda's wise-right greed, the two brothers could not do anything. Rama braved the ordeal. Lakshmana, however, was distressed. He said to Rama, I'm finished. Now Lakshmana began to do self-talk. Rama will counsel Lakshmana. Let my life be offered in sacrifice to this demon. Please escape from his grave. Go forth, find Sita. And then regaining your kingdom, you may rule ever. This time, Rama consoled Lakshmana and restored his self-confidence. Kabanda said to them, I am extremely hungry. Surely you have walked into my hands in order to appease my hunger. Rama was stricken with grief once again, and he said, surely time and death do not spare anyone. Before we recover from one tragedy, we are overtaken by another tragedy. There is a saying, it doesn't rain, it pours. So that's what Rama is saying, that he's being overtaken by tragedy after tragedy, being caught by Kabanda. Kabanda asked them, please tell me who you are. You have come to me at the right time to appease my hunger. Lakshmana thereupon said to Rama, Rama, obviously this demon's strength is in his arm. Let us quickly cut them off. They are able to find the weaknesses. Before you attack, you need to find the weaknesses. So Rama and Lakshmana found the weaknesses of the demon. Okay, the strength and weaknesses of the demon. So let us quickly cut them off. He is unarmed, hence it is not proper for us to kill him. Kabanda was annoyed by this conversation between Rama and Lakshmana. So without wasting any time, he got ready to devour them. As he drew them nearer and nearer, Rama and Lakshmana knew what to do, where and when, quickly cut off the demon's arms with their sword. The demon fell down on the ground, giving mighty roar. Once again, he questioned, who are you? Lakshmana told him that who they were and what brought them to the forest. In turn, he asked the demon, who are you? Then the demon will give an introduction. Kabanda narrated his biography in the following words. In my previous life, I possessed gigantic and radiant form, which rivaled the sun and the moon. I was very powerful, power drunk. It's very important to know when people become powerful, ego, pride, that's what happened to Kabanda. Earlier I mentioned to you about Nahusa. Nahusa also the same. That was why Nahusa was cursed. Same also for Kabanda. Power drunk, I used to harass the sages, even gods. I propitiated the creator Brahma and obtained boon from him for a very long life. Intoxicated further with his boon, I even picked a quarrel with Indra, the king of gods. Using his mighty weapon, the thunderbolt, Indra struck me, deprived me of my legs, heads, and mouths, which had all been pushed into my torso. When I pleaded that he could have killed me instead, he said he did not want to go against the boon of the Creator. So when I prayed with this form, how can I find my food? Indra bestowed exceptionally long arms upon me. So with this form, I once attacked sage Stulasira, and he cursed me. Continue to remain in this form. I begged of him to modify his curse so that this dreadful state might come to an end. He blessed me. The sage said, when Rama and Lakshmana come here and cut off your hands, you will be released from this form. By the very fact you have cut off my hands, I know that you are Rama. Please perform my cremation, and then I shall be able to help you in any manner you wish me to. Rama at once thought of Sita. He asked Kabanda, please tell me where Sita is. I hear she has been abducted by Ravana. I do not know where he is, but what he looks like and where he is. Please tell me all this. But the demon repeated, I have no power to divine the answers to your question. Before being cremated by you, I have no knowledge to the answers to your question concerning Sita. So helped by Lakshmana, Rama cremated demon Kabanda. Kabanda was cremated. As the funeral fire was lit, from that fire emerged a radiant being, stationed in space in his ethereal body. This divine being said to Rama, O Rama, I shall now reveal to you the way which you will surely find Sita. In this world, when one is faced with a calamity, there are 6 ways of overcoming it. Now, what are the 6 ways? If you go through the preliminary readings that I have sent to you, Krishna Sharma in his commentary have given the 6 ways. I did not want to put it here, the 6 ways. You can read. It is something for you to read. It is mentioned 6 ways to overcome the calamity. Desi Raju Hanumantarao, in his translation of Valmiki Ramayana in valmikiramayana.net, in chapter 72 of Aranyakanda, have also mentioned all the 6 ways. So one of the ways is to cultivate friendship of someone who is in a similar process, similar problem. Both of them are facing similar problem. See, Sugriva lost his wife, Ruma. Ruma is the wife of Sugriva, lost his wife to Vali. Rama lost his wife to Ravana. So Sugriva also wants to recover his wife. Rama also wants to recover his wife. So Kabanda will be advising Rama to go and have an MOU or strategic alliances with Sugriva. So Kabanda will tell Rama, without such a friend, you will not succeed in your mission of recovering Sita. I shall tell you where and how to find such a friend. So where to find such a friend? There is a Vanara known as Sugriva, whose brother Vali has driven in out of kingdom. Sugriva is an Amsha of Surya. Vali is an Amsha of Indra. Sugriva will help you in your task. At the same time, surely he can be helped in his ambition to regain his lost kingdom. Thus, you can be of a mutual help, symbiotic relationship between the two parties. However, even if you are unable to help him in his work, he will certainly help in yours. Sugriva dwells in Rishamukha hill. Uh, Later on in Kishkinda Kanda, we will learn Rishamukha hill is a hill that Vali cannot enter because of a curse by Matanga Muni towards Vali. So that's why Sugriva used to run everywhere throughout the world, scared of Vali. Hanuman will tell him, you better go to Rishamukha hill, because Rishamukha hill, Vali cannot enter. So from then onwards, Sugriva will dwell in Rishamukha hill. He is very clever and knows everything in this world. Sugriva is somebody who knows the geography of the world very well. Later on in Kishkinda, we will learn about description of the world geography during the time by Sugriva. He is highly cultured and true to his word. Yes, Sugriva was true to his word. When Ravana sent Sukha and Sarana to persuade Sugriva to move to his side, Sugriva was adamant. Sugriva was true to his dharma, to his words. He has a large band of Vanaras under him, with whose help Sita can be easily discovered. If necessary, he will send the Vanara's host to invade Lanka. After destroying the demons, bring Sita back to you. This is what was mentioned by Kabanda to Rama. And then the transformed Kabanda then described the route to Rishamukha hill in great detail. He said, proceeding in western direction from hill to hill, from forest to forest, you will come to Pampa, whose waters are clear and free from weed. You will find beautiful swans and fish in the lake. You will feed them. You will drink the waters of the lake. Later, you will meet the Vanaras, who also will come to the lake. Rama, in those days, days of yore, sage Matanga lived in that region. His disciples used to serve him by bringing foodstuff from forests. Drops of sweat that fell from their bodies watered the plant in the forest, whose blossoms therefore do not fade nor die. The sage is no more, even his disciple have cast off their physical body. But one each lady disciple of the sage is still alive. She is Sabari. Sabari, who is eagerly waiting for your visit, after which she will attain or ascend to heaven. Sabari Mokshan will be there. That forest is known as Matangavana. To the east of this Matangavana is Rishamukha hill. It is steep and is difficult to ascend. However, it has its own special reward for hero who ascends it. His dreams comes true. Rama, when you reach this hill, you will surely give up your grief. Sugriva dwells in the cave on the side of this mountain. That is a description given by Kabanda. And Rama and Lakshmana reach the western shore of Pampa Lake. They saw the beautiful hermitage of ascetic Sabari. When Sabari saw them, she welcomed them with great respect and devotion. She bowed to their feet. She worshipped Rama. Rama inquired her welfare and the fruition of her spiritual practices. Filled with highest devotion, Sabari replied to Rama. Sabari waited for many, many years to see Rama and Lakshmana. Because Matanga Muni, the spiritual master of Sabari, said to Sabari, stay here until Rama and Lakshmana come, then you will be able to join me. So when Sabari heard Rama is already moved to the forest, she been waiting and waiting and waiting. In some version of Ramayana, it is said she will use put flowers from her hermitage and making paths for Rama to come to her hermitage. Puts a road of flowers. That was Sabari. So filled with highest devotion, Sabari replied to Rama, I have now reach the perfection of my austerity, for I beheld you, O Rama. Today my birth has borne its fruit. The worship I offered to my preceptors, Matanga Muni and all the sages, have been endowed with meaning. I shall attain heaven too, O Rama. For now I have seen you, my eye shall behold you, my heart shall my heart have been purified. I shall ascend to the worlds of eternal life by your grace. So Sabari attained moksham. Sabari entered into a fire. That's the Sabari moksham. Now about Sabari here. Sabari further continued before she attained the moksham. She continued. She said further, chapter 74, when you arrive at Chitrakuta, the other disciple of Matanga Muni has ascended heaven. They said to me, soon Rama and Lakshmana will come. Stay until you worship them. Please, you can then join us. I lay before you, Rama, the best of fruits in this forest. Please accept them and bless me. After accepting her hospitality, Rama requested her to show the object associated with Sesh Matanga and his disciple. Sabari showed them around the forest after Sesh Matanga, the place where they practiced their austerity, shed their bodies, an altar at which they worship, the confluence of 7 oceans, the dress of the bark trees left by them, which has not faded, the flowers which remain fresh. After showing, Sabari offered a body in sacred fire, discarding a physical body she had ascended to heaven. So that's a Sabari Moksham mentioned in the chapter 74. Now, there is something that have been always people ask about Sabari. Did Sabari feed Rama with the fruits she tasted? That's actually one of the questions that people always ask. And did Rama accepted the fruit that was that was given by Sabari, that was tasted by Sabari? So if we go into Valmiki Ramayana, no reference found as per Valmiki Ramayana that Rama took the fruit that has been tasted by Sabari. It was only mentioned Sabari offered fruits. No reference that Rama tasted the fruits already tasted by Sabari found in Valmiki Ramayana. You will also won't find it in Kamba Ramayana. Okay, you will not be able to find it in Ranganada Ramayana, which is in Telugu, Kamba Ramayana in Tamil. Ranganada Ramayana in Telugu. Also in Goswami Tulsidas Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, also not found. Where do you find Sabari offering fruit that she has tasted to Rama? It is found in Dandi Ramayana. So Sabari serving tasted fruit. In Dandi Ramayana, it is mentioned mango. In some other versions of Ramayana, it is mentioned berries. Berries. Okay, Sabari tasted the berries before giving to Rama. Sabari, in Dandi Ramayana, it is said that Sabari tasted the mango before giving it to Rama. She said, this is a sweet mango. Please eat this. This is sweet. Okay. This is recorded by an Odia poet called Balram Das in 15th century in his Dandi Ramayana. Here we find a story of how Rama encounters Sabari and eat those with teeth marks indicating they have been tasted and reject those without teeth marks. So it is said that Rama, looking at the bhakti of Sabari more than the fruits that was offered by Sabari. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 26, it says that Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati. Whatever that is offered, a fruit, okay, Patram, leaf, Pushpam, flower, Palam, fruit, Toyam, water, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati. That means that whatever that is offered with devotion, I will accept with joy. That's what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. One more discourse of Rama to Sabari, which is quite popular. You will find in Ramcharit Manas. You will find in Adhyatma Ramayana, which is part of Brahmanda Purana. Brahmanda Purana by Vyasa. Ramcharit Manas, and also Adhyatma Ramayana Kilipattu by Tenchettu Elutachan in Malayalam. You will have the Navavidya Bhakti, ninefold devotion, discourse between Rama and Sabari. Rama will narrate to Sabari about Bhakti, discourse on Bhakti. It is not found in Valmiki Ramayana. So Valmiki Ramayana, the Rama's appearance at hermitage of Sabari and hospitality of Sabari, and then Sabari Moksham is mentioned in chapter 73 and 74 of Aranyakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. After that, that's the end of Sabari, after Sabari Moksham in chapter 74. Now we are moving into the last chapter of Aranyakandam, that is chapter 75. So Rama then said to Lakshmana, Lakshmana, we have seen the holy hermitage of these holy sages, full of wonder. We have seen the blessed animals that roam in this place freely. We have seen the seven seas. We have offered libations for our ancestors too. I feel that all our past evil actions has been atoned and our misfortune has come to an end. Leaving that hermitage of Sabari, they went towards Rishamukha hill, passing near Mitangashara lake, which is a subsidiary lake to Pampa lake, which is full of alligators, turtles, and which with its many colored lotuses and lilies looked like beautiful carpets. Having reached the hill, Rama said to Lakshmana, please go and look for Sugriva. Of course, when we go into Kishkinda Kandam later on, Sugriva will be looking from top of the hill, the mountain, Rishamukha hill. He will be there. He will be wondering who these two Rama and Lakshmana saw. He was afraid looking at them. He will think that these two were sent by Vali to kill him. Then he will tell Hanuman. Hanuman's first word to Sugriva in Kishkinda Kandam is fear not, do not fear. And next session we will go into Kishkinda Kandam where all the actions here in an Ayutthaya Kandam with the drama, Aranya Kandam with emotion, Ayutthaya Kandam also with emotion, dramas, emotions. We have passed through Rama lamenting, Rama was grieving for Sita, loss of Sita, all we have seen in Aranya Kandam towards the conclusion of Aranya Kandam. Now, Rama himself is telling that our misfortune has come to an end. So what will happen will be in Kishkinda Kandam with meeting with Rama and Sugriva, initiated by Hanuman. A lot of lessons in Sugriva and Rama's meeting, and before that, Hanuman's uh, art of communications, which we will be covering in session 16 when we go into Kishkinda Kandam. Okay, Kishkinda Kandam is not a very long Kandam. Kishkinda Kandam will have 67 chapters. Sundara Kandam 68. Remember Balakandam 77 chapters. Ayutthaya Kandam 117. And then we have now Aranya Kandams ends in 75 chapters. Kishkinda Kandam will be 67, Sundara Kandam will be 68, and then Yuddha Kandam will be 128. And Uttara we are not looking at. We have Kishkinda, Sundara Kandam, and Yuddha Kandam. So we have completed Aranya Kandam, which is Book of Forest Aranya Kandam. So something for you to recall, what are the things that we have gone through in Aranya Kandam. Chapters 1 to 13, Rama meets several sages in Dandakaranya. So remember chapter 1, they moved into Aranya Kandam, they meet demon called Virada. Rama, Virada actually was a Gandharva called Tumburu who has been cursed to become a demon. Rama destroyed Virada. And then meeting sages, sage Sarabanga. Who are the sages that Rama met? Sage Sarabanga, sage Sutikshina. Then Rama met sage Agastya. Then meeting with 14 to 30, meeting when Rama moved towards Panchavati, Rama met Jatayu. Jatayu introduced himself as a friend of Dasaratha. How they became friends, I mentioned to you earlier, how Dasaratha and Jatayu became friends, not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. Rama eliminating, and then when Surpanaka episode, Rama eliminated Kara, Dushana, and Trishara, and the demons, 14,000 demons. And then the report by Akampana, later on Surpanaka to Ravana. Ravana decided to kidnap Sita. Ravana got the help of Maricha. Maricha tried his level best to dissuade Ravana. Ravana, he gave Ravana about the art of governance, what the king should do. Also earlier, Surpanaka also gave art of governance to Ravana. And then Ravana abducted Sita. Jatayu fought. Jatayu lost his life, separated from Rama. Separated from Rama, Jatayu lost his life. Sita was taken by Ravana. And then after that, in this session, we learn about Jatayu Moksham, and then Rama meeting Kabanda, and then Sabari, and then Rama's journey goes towards Kishkinda. So that's the end of Aranyakandam. That is book 3 of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam. So anybody with you can put in writing here lessons. I always told you, right, after completion of each book, Balakandam, learn what are the lessons that you learn from Balakandam. And then the last book that we have completed was Ayutthaya Kandam. What are the lessons from Ayutthaya Kandam? Now we have completed Aranya Kandam, Book of Horus. Also take down some of the lessons. What are the lessons that you can apply in your own life? Ramayana gives a lot of lessons in human values, human development. Okay, all that you can put in your life, all that you can practice in your life. Okay, so as they are going to have, the organizer mentioned to me that there will be a quiz on Ramayana quiz. Some of you are taking the quiz, Ramayana quiz later. I think maybe another half an hour. So I am ending this session a bit earlier. Usually our sessions might take maybe sometimes even close to 2 hours or 1 hour 45 minutes. Now it is exactly about 1.5 hours, close to about 1.5 hours. So we are ending our session earlier, and next session we will be doing Kishkindakandam. Okay, Kishkindakandam, that is book 4 of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam. So thank you to all of you. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your session to everybody.